It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Monday, November the 20th. Good morning. Did we all make it? Did we all make it through the Vikings game?
I'm so glad I did it. No, that was a good ending. I mean, not a great ending, obviously, but it was worth staying up for.
Nothing like watching your team beat itself, though. You know what I'm saying? It kind of makes me feel like we were really in control and we just chose to screw it all up. That's a game that had a lot of opportunities to just take it over, close the door, and they just couldn't quite make it happen. I'm not throwing dirt at all. It's a great 5-game winning streak. Josh Dobbs is still doing a pretty amazing job considering that he stepped in, mid-season the way he did. But my gosh, and Kevin O'Connell made some great decisions last night, but I was very worried. Yet again, first drive turnover on a bizarre play to direct snap to someone other than Josh Dobbs and then give Dobbs the ball, basically meaning he's now a running back and they can just obliterate him in the backfield for the fumble. That was a bad call. I didn't like it as it was happening before the hit, and then one thing leads to another. But again, they were in position to win the game, made a few mistakes late, didn't capitalize, needed a field goal. Needed a touchdown. We got the field goal, and here we are. The season is still the Vikings to be had, but that said, I did go to sleep with a bitter taste in my mouth.
Yeah, couldn't put the ball in the end zone.
Well, and 3 turnovers at least. Maybe there were more than that. I think I saw 3 in the headlines this morning. I lost count after a while, but, that was a curious play. I thought the same thing, Steve. On the road, hostile environment, and you go with something kind of tricky like that, almost wildcatty. But, that's not what lost the game, and then just could, like you said, shut the door on this team. I almost went to bed at halftime thinking, we got this, but you know better in the NFL, It's like I thought the Lions were going to walk over the Bears. Suddenly, don't sleep on the Bears, I guess, coming to town next week. But they're in good shape, at 6-5.
They are. I just think that it was. I felt bad. I felt really good. Dobbs, the touchdown pass where he should have been sacked, should have been shoved out of bounds, stood there, shook off the defense, shook off the Bronco, and then just what? You got 2 more guys about to crush me? I'll just throw a touchdown. I mean, those moments for Dobbs are incredible. As they're happening, I can feel everybody in the world watching the game going, I don't believe what I'm watching. So those are really exhilarating. But even with that, I was still that first fumble on the 3rd play of the game, that direct snap to Hawkinson, giving the ball up to Dobbs to run it. That was still it was just in my craw. And I kept thinking man, I hope that doesn't come back to bite us on the ass. But it did. Okay. But shake it off. It's a tough place to play, tough place to win, especially at night in Denver. To your point, Zepp, Chicago looked like a pretty good team yesterday, but they got up for the Lions. Are they going to get up for 2 straight games? That remains to be seen. It could be a lot worse. The 5-game streak is over. Hopefully we got Justin Jefferson back. That's going to change things considerably, and we move on from there. We're talking with Robert Smith at 9 o'clock about about the Vikings and about what the rest of the season looks like. So that'll be kind of exciting. But that's really not – that's not the biggest story of the week, guys. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Thursday's Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Wow.
Excited. Going to eat some. It is going to be a stereotypical Thanksgiving for me. I'm just going to gorge myself.
Are you?
I'm excited. Yeah, Sid the kid is cooking, and she's. I said I'll transfer you some dough if you do all the work. She's pretty handy in the kitchen. I'll do some chopping or stirring, whatever is needed.
Sure.
But yeah, she's throwing together the big spread.
Thank goodness you'll be there to stir.
I'll be there to stir. Tony, you got to stir that stuff, or you're sticking, and then it's inconsistent.
Bring a wooden spoon. Bring a wooden spoon. That makes it look like you can always look at someone and go, no, you got to have wood. And no one ever asks why, and you look like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Grandma's old wooden spoon. I'll bring it along. And if anyone gets out of line, they'll get a wrap across the knuckles.
Tony, do you plan to gorge yourself?
Of course I do. And I'll feel good about it. Yeah, I'll be surrounded by family. And
Candace, any concerns? Judge. Any concerns about caloric intake?
Yeah, I'm going to 2 Thanksgivings, so yeah, it's always a concern for me.
Two entire Thanksgiving spreads?
Yep. It's going to be one's going to be like the traditional turkey stuff, which is fine. But then I'm going to have crab legs at the second, and it's going to be
On the same day?
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm going to take
crazy.
it easy. I know, I'm crazy.
Pace yourself.
Holy
you know what?
smokes.
Mix in some crappy light beer between meals just to flush it.
You're right. I'll do that.
Just throw up in between.
Well,
You
listen,
purge.
listen, guys, I got news for you. The good people at Popular Science have given us the list of how to prepare yourself if you are intending to gorge yourself. You can go through you can show up and just plan to eat a lot, or you can plan ahead.
Yes.
And it's 6 easy tips. So for anyone out there who's thinking, how do I outdo myself? How do I set a new personal best record? Number 1, do not skip breakfast. If you're hungry, if you sit down at that table and you're like really hungry, you'll go in too fast, too hard. You'll tap out early. So unless you're doing a really early unless you're going to sit down at noon, if you're going to sit down 2, 3, 4 p.m. even later, absolutely have breakfast. You just want to give yourself about 4 or 5 hours between breakfast, but starting the day with breakfast still makes sense. And then here's the most important thing to me: right before you sit down, take a brisk walk, just a nice 15-minute, a 10 to 15-minute brisk walk will stimulate your appetite, and it will stimulate that appetite, and it helps you to digest any food that's still in your stomach. So get on that walk.
I thought you were going to say stimulate your bowels.
Well, that's what's the difference?
Get things moving. You know, that's what the football is for. You know, you go out and you throw it, because after you eat and have a couple of beers, it's time to settle in. You know, unzip the pants, put the sweatpants on and watch the football. Before that, you go out and you throw the football around a little bit in the backyard. That's kind of the same thing as the brisk walk before dinner. I like that.
I figured you would. And then here's one more thing: get back from your walk, sit down at the table, and start taking a few very deep breaths. Deep breathing. It's easier to pack in a lot of food when you're relaxed. And if you take a good 8, 9, or 10 very deep breaths, that will help relax you. It literally will take at least the surface level of physical anxiety away. And then you just get in there. And then let's talk about it. The food hits the table. Start with the carbs. Go straight to the stuffing and the mashed potatoes. The turkey, full of protein, it'll make you feel full. And the mashed potatoes and stuffing, you don't have to chew so much. So your brain isn't keeping count of your brain keeps up with how much chewing you're doing. It's going to think and if you chew a lot, your brain thinks you're fuller than you really are. So, start with the carbs. People think, oh, I gotta pile those on at the end. No, go right to the mashed potatoes and the stuffing. Avoid that turkey early. This is going to be exciting. I mean, I think we should do a live stream, the 4 of us. We should just all watch each other gorge.
I thought you were going to say from the bathroom. Sorry, I'm disgusting this morning.
Wow,
I need to go.
Weird twist.
Whatever it takes.
Well, it's funny you say that, Candace, because we can go into details a little later, but make no mistake, Friday, it's not just Black Friday, it's Brown Friday, the busiest day of the year for plumbers. I've got details on that to share with you later. So don't worry, Candace. We're going to bring this around to your side of the table soon enough.
So much to look forward to this morning, not to mention a game show with a chance to win. I don't know what we're giving away this morning. The Guess Who and Transit Authority, St. Paul Ice Fishing and Winter Sports Show. Something to look forward to. That's coming later this morning. And Mike Evans' Hollywood Report, it's not live, but I just listened to it. Jam-packed with Hollywood dirt. Coming here at 6:30. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Monday, November the 20th. Robert Smith will be joining us at 9 o'clock to talk about the Vikings. At 8 o'clock, Kenneth Womack will be joining us. He's an author, a Beatles scholar who's written an amazing book about a guy that was a huge part of the Beatles' career that you've never heard of. It's absolutely fascinating. And then also, check this out. At 7:30, John O'Hurley. Seinfeld, the game show host, worked a little Family Feud for a while. Now, of course, broadcaster of the National Dog Show.
Yeah.
And a really funny dude. He's going to call it. We got a lot of stuff going on. And then at some point, we're going to give away concert tickets because that's just how we like to roll. On the KQ Morning Show, we also like to check in with Mike Evans, who is not with us live, but of course, with the great technological advancements that he's endured throughout his career. He was able to pre-record a Hollywood Report and share it with us. Let's go to the tape. That was my way of saying, let's go to the tape. You know, like they used to say in the old days.
You don't have it, Z?
What's that?
You said you had it.
Yes, then there was a text after that. Here we go.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Mike Evans. Today's report originates from Washington, D.C.
Our nation's capital.
Got some love nuggets for you. Tonight, starting a little love and a little sports, the biggest NFL football game of the year. Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. And that brings up Taylor and Travis. And for the first time, Taylor and Travis's parents will meet and be at the game. You know, I'm more interested in the game and pulling for the Chiefs. Oh, by the way, a reminder, Travis's brother Jason plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. Just one more reason to watch as the two brothers go against each other. And a sidebar, a huge number of Swifties are organizing a fan club for Travis. They say they're hoping that they get married and have babies. Oh, brother. One more Taylor nugget. Word is that she is planning to sell all of her outfits that she wore during her concert tour and giving all the proceeds to charity. Just more reason to like Taylor Swift. Spotted driving the kids to school on Friday morning in Los Angeles. So that was Ben Affleck driving. J-Lo was sitting shotgun. The two kids were in the back seat. And after dropping the kids off at school, Ben and J-Lo drove off in their $450,000 Rolls Royce, smoking cigarettes, laughing, and headed straight to McDonald's. I kid you not. TV update. All good things must come to an end. Bye-bye. So long. Farewell. Young Sheldon. Their 7th and final season will end on May 16th. And some old Big Bang writers may be involved. The ratings have remained solid, but let's face it, young Sheldon just isn't young anymore. The star, Ian Armitage, is now 15 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
And is already looking at movie scripts. And a holiday TV suggestion, or sitting around TV day before Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving, a documentary biography on Netflix called Sly. It is the true story of Sylvester Stallone and how he auditioned for hundreds of parts and was rejected all the time, almost gave up. Then he thought he might try writing a movie script. You might remember it was called Rocky. And his huge success led to him losing everything. And then he turns it all around. Sly tells the story with the help from his friends Quentin Tarantino, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and many others. 90 minutes long. Sly on Netflix. 4 stars. Oh, and before I forget, tonight on Stephen Colbert, the David Letterman Show. Stephen Colbert and David Letterman have been friends for a long time. He's going to be on the show tonight. I think that's going to be good. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow from Washington, D.C. See ya.
Mike Evans Hollywood Report. Mike Evans stoned as a fish fan today, apparently.
Who isn't?
I got excited when he said Sly because I was thinking it was about Sly Stone, not Sly Stallone.
Yeah,
I'm all for the Sly and the Family Stone documentary. I was on an elevator with Sylvester Stallone once, and I literally looked down at him and went, "Hey, man, what's up?" Because that guy was tiny. I couldn't believe it.
Not a big man.
I would have bet the farm he was 6 feet tall. He was 5'8", maybe 5'9", and he was wearing shoes. Maybe probably 5'7", barefoot, which is a perfectly fine height to be in general terms. But when you are Rocky and you are in all those movies just beating the living snot out of everybody who crosses your path, I just expected a bigger man. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and a half of beef. You seen him break the rib cage?
Yeah.
On a big side of beef hanging in a freezer?
Damn straight.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike talked about the Chiefs Eagles. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's parents are going to be at the game together. We're talking. Okay, I fully understand why everyone's freaking out over Taylor Swift turning up at the games. I mean, I get why the NFL is so supportive of it. She's the biggest star on the planet. I get. I mean, if I had a business and Taylor Swift were a fan, I'd play it up as well. But their parents, we're talking about people in their mid-30s, Taylor and Travis Kelce. They're not college seniors. I want you to meet my mom and dad. It's exciting. They're 33 and 34 years old. Who cares what their parents think? And by the way, she's a billionaire. I seriously, I have not. None of this has bothered me on any level. I totally get it. But this one, I'm like, oh, come on. Seriously, stop with the whole, my God, their parents are getting together. They're adults in their mid-30s. It's okay. And also, while we're recapping, and then I'm done, okay? What is young Sheldon? Would someone explain that to me?
Okay, I shouldn't say hate, but I don't like the Big Bang Theory. It's too smart for me. I don't know. It's not my jam. But Young Sheldon is actually a great show. It's the dude... Sheldon, Young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
like a prequel.
Yeah.
It's a prequel to the Big Bang Theory, which leads me to my next question. What's the Big Bang Theory?
What? Have you been living under a rock?
When you take the fat chick home at the end of the night. Wait, what?
Wow.
How do you know that?
I've heard of the show, but I literally know nothing about it. Good show? Bad show?
I mean, I don't know.
Too smart
don't
for you said?
Yeah, it's like they're a bunch of nerds and really smart. It's that with that girl who does Jeopardy now.
Maya Bialik is one of the cast. It's actually very funny. I never really got into it, but it's a well-done, funny sitcom.
Well, this is all fascinating information for me. And so now Young Sheldon is going off the air in May. I've still got a few months to get on board, apparently.
Yeah, it is funny,
Taylor
though.
Taylor Swift, I think, didn't it?
But he is old now.
Wasn't she the blonde that lived across the hall? That was Taylor Swift.
Bizarre conversation.
Look, I'm just trying to keep my thumb on the pulse of what's happening. Okay, the zeitgeist eludes me sometimes, Tony. I'm the first to admit it. I tell you what, I need to get back into my comfort zone, which is to look back. How about a history lesson?
Sports, music, history. Remember where the past comes alive.
It's November 20th, and on this day in 1997, this will be news to Candace, I'm sure. A guy named A.C. Green played for the Dallas Mavericks that night. It was his 907th straight game. That set the record for most games played and started without missing one. The streak lasted. He played 1,192 straight NBA games, and then the streak ended because, sadly, while going for a rebound, his testicle exploded. No, wait.
What?
Sorry, that didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. But what is true, is throughout his entire career, he remained a virgin. A.C. Green maintained his virginity until he got married in 2002 after he gave up a professional basketball career. And he played for the beginning of his career for the Los Angeles Lakers. And his teammates would consistently on the road send women to his hotel room. And he continually, and then he would welcome them into his room, and he would open up a Bible and start to share scripture with these women.
Holy nightmare.
True story. He was very proud of it, and it was between that and the amount of product in his hair, he stood out like a sore thumb in the NBA. True story. I mean, a phenomenal story. The guy's a fascinating cat. Anyway. I just really wanted to talk about someone's nut blowing up, even though it really didn't. But figuratively,
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
The Cars were just what I needed. That's the song that got them a record deal. They did a couple of demos, gave them to a couple local radio stations in Boston, and both stations started playing the song. Oh, they were local legends, and then the record labels came a-calling, and next thing you know, the Cars are huge. Their debut album, if you put it on, it sounds like a greatest hits record at this point. Every song on that record you've heard a million times, and I got no beef with the Cars. I can still put it on side one and just blast right through it. Fantastic. Produced by the same dude that was producing Queen records at that time. They were the first new wave band to really be to go to the top of the charts, if you will. That was considered new wave. It's funny to think back, they were coming out of that class of bands that didn't really have a genre. It seemed that would have made sense to be so popular. But hey, that was the Cars. That's what they did. And then Rick Ocasek was 36, 37 when their career started, 35 or something. So no dummy. And then when he was 38, he met an 18-year-old model and married her. And these things happen back in the day. And no one thought that was weird.
It probably wasn't in the rock world.
I'm saying they were like, she's 18 now. That's great. Whew.
Business as usual. I was on YouTube listening to old radio air checks because I am a dork, and there was a college radio station playing this new cat out of Gainesville, Florida. It's been hanging out in the L.A. scene on progressive radio on this college show, and they deemed him alternative. And that was Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers in the late 1970s,
Alternative because he didn't open his mouth wide enough, I guess, for the standard pop charts. It's a little strange out there. We're going to all be opening our mouths on Thursday. Thanksgiving week is upon us. As opposed to discussing, what if you had to get rid of one side? What would it be? We're just going to go ahead and encourage everybody to eat as much as humanly possible. We've already gone over the list of that our friends at Popular Science magazine have provided us with, the 6 ways to prepare yourself to eat as much as possible. And quickly, if you missed it, don't skip breakfast. Get the day started with a meal. Take a few hours between breakfast and your big dinner, but do not skip breakfast. A brisk walk before the Thanksgiving meal is going to help to stimulate your appetite. It's going to help digest any food that's still in your stomach, or as Candace likes to say, it's going to make you want to take a dump. They recommend a few very deep breaths before eating. Candace, you tend to be pretty.
I don't. I'm a fast eater. That is maybe that's why I have so many issues.
You're excited and excitable. So some very deep breaths. Just think yoga breathing before you sit down.
Kids are going to think I'm having a heart attack. What is that called, Lamaze or whatever? What you do with the wife? Pretend that you're going to do in the delivery room, but then she tells you to shut it. Well, and don't worry about her breathing. Yeah, just sit there and do some of that. There at the dinner table. It does make sense, because if you do it right, then you will be delivering several food babies over the following hour. So that makes sense. Start off with the carbs. Hit the stuffing and mashed potatoes hard. The turkey makes you feel full, and the carbs, the mashed potatoes and the stuffing, don't require a lot of chewing, so your brain won't think you're full. Also, avoid vegetables. They're full of fiber, and that expands in your stomach. So for once, other than the mashed potatoes, avoid green beans. Please stop it. Leave those to the kids. Don't drink too much. That takes up a lot of room. And then here's the biggest thing, Candace, because you have 2 Thanksgivings. You told us you have 2 separate spreads. Get another walk-in between rounds.
Okay.
So stuff your gullet, then take another walk. And especially if you mostly eat carbs, the stuffing and the potatoes again, your stomach will feel empty again in 30 to 90 minutes. You'll be perfect by the time round 2 shows up, Candace.
I'm ready for this. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to have a full report on Monday morning.
That's pretty great.
Pass out round right before you pass out round 3 later that night. I used to think, all right, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, don't eat too much. Kind of save it, get yourself hungry, drop some calories, create an appetite. But they say don't do that either. You want to stretch the stomach. Don't let the stomach start to shrink. That affects your appetite. You want to, you should start kind of Thanksgiving pre-gaming today. Big meals.
Sure. Oh yeah. And with the family all together, the kids are home from college, so there's already a good chance we'll be ordering in a lot of pizza. There'll be burritos. Round the clock. A lot of gorging all week long. So we're pretty excited about that. Is it possible? Here's the question: is it possible to overeat on Thanksgiving and literally to the point where your stomach explodes? And the answer, technically, yeah. Yeah, it is. But most of us, thankfully, our body does have safeguards to keep us from literally exploding our stomachs, and that is, puking. We're going to throw up before that happens. But it is possible. The average person, how many calories does the average person eat on Thanksgiving? Anyone want to take a guess?
5,000.
5, yeah. I Okay. Yeah. We're all in on 5Gs.
Well, what they're saying is the average person they just say over 3,000. So but I think you're right. I think it's closer to 5,000 because just the pie alone at 8:30 p.m. when you literally don't need a thing, and the scoop of ice cream. I mean, that's going to put you right over the top. Because for everybody who says, "What do you want? Pumpkin pie or pecan pie or apple pie?" It's like no, kind of all three. Kind of got to hit every bit of pie in the house, because I'm not a sweet guy. I will have sweets like 4 times a year, so I get them all in when I can.
Yeah. I don't want to offend anyone. You know, I don't want something not to be. You know, if there's a pie sitting there that no one's cut into, no one's having the rhubarb, or someone brought an odd pie, I'll take a piece of that just as a courtesy.
Attaboy.
And also the pumpkin. And also the chocolate pie and the apple and all that good jazz. But yeah, just keep grazing. It's a grazing kind of thing, right? Because then they put out that tray with all the pickles and celery. And stuff.
I love the relish tray.
The relish tray, that's it. You start in with that.
What?
The relish tray?
On Thanksgiving, there's a relish tray?
Yeah, sure.
Olives, pickles.
Wow. I got a lot to learn.
Right. Mom doesn't want you over there, grabbing the stuff out. You're digging in for some mashed potatoes or whatever. No, get out of here. There's a relish tray. Go graze on that. Everyone's over there crunching on stuff.
Wow.
Waiting for the bird to come
I think
out,
there's like that's I mean, I'm just approaching this as a man from the South. Never seen the relish tray on Thanksgiving. There has been there's a little thing of mixed nuts, maybe, I guess, or some other but not the straight up relish tray, although it makes sense. You said you don't want to offend people, Zep, and that reminded me of one awful Thanksgiving that I spent in Michigan with family. Back in the day, in 1991. It was a great day. I love my family, my aunt and uncle and cousins and everybody. It was fun. But it was the first Thanksgiving, I think, of my life where I wasn't eating my mom's food. And I truly didn't care for anything I was served. It was just different recipes. Everything was just off enough. And my mom was not like a gourmet chef. She was a great, she was a cook, not a chef. You know what I mean? It was bulk, but she knew how to do the things she knew how to do. And that food was life affirming. And I was in Michigan, and I was at my Aunt Phyllis's house, and the spread was great, I'm sure. But every time I took a bite, I was like, oof, nah,
right.
And then they did have stuff out. It wasn't a relish tray, but there were bonbons, and there was a lot of sweets in the house. And so I remember I really did. They were like, "Oh, you're not eating much, Steven." And I was like, No, it's just all those bonbons. I overdid it on the bonbons. And that was my out for and of course I had 2 of them, but. Yeah, what a drag that was. I hadn't thought about that. But, I felt bad. Everything I ate was just because I felt I can't not eat. It's Thanksgiving, for crying out loud, and I'm not thankful. I'm a selfish prick, and here I am bitching about the food. But, hey, these things happen.
No, you're right. It's the gravy for me. Mom makes this gravy. I'm sure it's the unhealthiest gravy on the planet. There's sugar in it, I believe. I know there's fat. Just like she dumps out that turkey pan, dumps it into that measuring cup, and then that goes in, and then there's flour and everything else. And it's this thick, gelatinous gravy that I just couldn't get enough of. And, and you can't reproduce that somewhere else. I actually had to get the gravy recipe. I attempted the gravy a couple of times myself, but then that's dangerous because when you realize that you can make your own gravy, it's not just for Thanksgiving anymore. And sometimes you don't even make mashed potatoes and stuffing. Sometimes you just make the gravy. I
love gravy so much that as a college student, I discovered the powdered gravy packs at the grocery store. Just add water, and I thought that was it was miraculous. I was like, wait, you can just make gravy? I can just make gravy? And I went through a period of time where I would get the packaged gravy and then instant Spud Flakes. Just, add water, and you have something that kind of almost tastes and looks and smells like mashed potatoes. And then just that quick instant gravy. And I would just stuff myself This was like in the spring. This had nothing to do with Thanksgiving. I couldn't believe you could just get instant potatoes and instant gravy. That was living the highest life imaginable to me at the age of 19.
Yeah, that's landing on the moon stuff for me. I still to this day prefer. You won't find me peeling a potato. If someone wants to do it for me and mash it up and make it very tasty, I can dig it. But instant potatoes, I'm sorry, it's almost a preference over real potatoes.
I like instant potatoes as well.
I know, and they're so instant.
Yeah,
it's instant.
And let me tell you this. Let me tell you something right now. A can of chunky sirloin burger over instant Spud Flakes, you're good for days. Oh. You won't eat again for a day and a half at least. It's like, I'm good. I'm all set. Thank you very much.
That's going to be part of my pregame this week. Yeah, I'm pregaming with that this week. That's brilliant. That's fantastic.
At the time I'm talking, as a college student, I was dating a girl whose mom used to say on a regular basis, "The world always needs a plumber," and she had a great Scottish accent, so it sounded even like, "Well, honey, the world always needs a plumber." Yeah. I tell my girls, marry a plumber, he'll always have a job. I can't even do Scottish right now. But the point is this. Plumbers are always necessary. The world always needs a plumber, and especially this Friday. Now, you might think Friday's Black Friday, which it is, but Friday is also known as Brown Friday. It is the single busiest day of the year for plumbers. I'm not making this up. Roto-Rooter. It says they get 50% more calls than any other average day the Friday after Thanksgiving. You've got not just toilets being clogged because everyone's, doing what we call the wheeler, but Roto-Rooter says you've got clogged. Look, your enthusiasm for all things bowel-related is one of my favorite things about you. I'm sorry. I'm not judging you.
I've just had a lot of issues and still do. And when I was young, it was always, being in the bathroom too long and everyone's worried about me. It's just every time I think of Thanksgiving, I think about that.
Did you get the knock at the door?
Oh, yeah. Are you okay in there, Candace?
Oh, man.
Is everything okay?
Did the knock at the door? Did the knock at the door and the parental and grandparental and neighborly concern, did it help or did it hinder the process?
Oh, it definitely hindered.
Yeah, see, that's what happens.
I was in there reading my great aunt's Reader's Digest and just trying to figure it out.
So Brown Friday, it's not just because toilets, but you do have clogged toilets, but you also have kitchen sinks and, of course, garbage disposals. Yeah. The people's entire plumbing systems are overwhelmed because not only do you have more food than normal, you have more people than normal. If you normally have 12 flushes a day, it's going to be 48 because you're going to have all these extra people in there. So the main thing to remember for Brown Friday, do not have flushable wipes in the house. They're not really that flushable. Just stick with toilet. Just continue to squeeze the Charmin like we were all trained to do. How about this one? If you have a lot of guests and the plumbing's not great, if people are staying over, ask them to wait 10 minutes between showers. You need to give all the drains plenty of time. You give the pipes plenty of time to drain. And then some basic stuff. Don't pour fats or cooking oils down the drain. I think we all probably know that by now. Also starchy things like potato peels don't break down in your garbage disposal. You know what I've had trouble with? I've clogged a garbage disposal from dumping greens like salad, lettuce and pasta. Very difficult on your garbage disposal. So for a day like Thursday, probably better to just not even use the disposal. Just put everything in the trash.
Keep the greens out of the house in the first place. Then you won't have to, try and hide the evidence later. I wonder if they unclog humans too.
That's what's known as a pro tip right there, bud. Thank you.
That is.
That's pretty strong. So that's our our Thanksgiving coverage. Like I say, we know what you're going to eat. What you're going to eat doesn't really matter. But here's the thing: just know, get your plumber's number on hand. Get the Roto-Rooter guy's number, whatever it is, have it ready. Maybe do a preemptive call. Maybe just like Thursday, maybe Friday morning, the first thing you do when you wake up is just log in a call just to be safe, just to have a guy come out and tell you what's the problem. There's no problem. Pay the guy $100 just to make, it's worth the money to just make sure. Because one thing you don't want to have is a Friday day after Thanksgiving backed up plumbing system in your house.
Nasty. Just, go dump it over the neighbor's fence. I'm talking about the leftovers. Or a fridge raid. We used to do all that. Just put it all together. You ever do that? Just put it all in one, all the leftovers in one meal, like a hot dish.
That's what we do. We do it every year. The Thanksgiving shepherd's pie, if you will.
Oh,
yeah,
right
a casserole.
There.
Just everything goes in there, and it's way better for the next 3 days than the meal itself because it just sits there and all soaks in together. Oh yeah, the Thanksgiving shepherd's pie casserole hot dish, whatever you want to call it, that is a staple in the Gorman house.
I mean, Thanksgiving on our mind this morning. Every year I wonder if the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, they're going to wrap that. Every year, huge ratings. You've got to have it on, right? Along with the National Dog Show, huge ratings every year. And we'll have the host of the National Dog Show. I don't know how many years he's been doing it. We'll ask him for quite a few years here. John Hurley, actor, comedian, singer, author, game show host. And host of one of the hosts of the National Dog Show, our guest at 7:30. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. In a few minutes, John O'Hurley is going to join us. John O'Hurley, you may know him as Jay Peterman from Seinfeld. You may know him as the one-time, for a while, host of Family Feud, to tell the truth, and of course the man who for many years now has hosted the National Dog Show. That's Thanksgiving Day, 11 to 1 Central, and John O'Hurley's on the phone right now. Good morning, John.
Good morning. How are you?
All is well on this end, sir. You've been hosting the National Dog Show for going on like 20 years. Is that correct?
This will be year number 22.
So, do you know more about dogs now than you would have ever thought possible?
Boy, you'd hope so, wouldn't you?
And do you know what the judges are looking for? Do you feel with every passing year you have more insight into what exactly is going to make a winner?
I do have a pretty good eye for and a good memory base of the standard of each of the breeds, and there is a written standard that the breed is being judged against. So it's really not the cuteness factor as much as it is, are they the best representation of what the form and the history of this breed is?
Do you have a certain type of? Were you a dog guy before you got this gig? Did you grow up and did you always have dogs?
Quite honestly, Steve, I wasn't. I've had dogs all my life, but I had never been introduced to dog shows, so I really wasn't familiar. I was flying blind those first few years. The learning curve was rather steep.
I'm sure it is. Well, what's your favorite division? I mean, I know they have different groups: working dogs, toy dogs. What's your favorite?
They have seven different groups, and then of course there's the best in show group, which are the winners of all of the groups together in a one last attempt to find out who's going to be best in show. But I think what you're asking me is what is my favorite show breed?
Right.
And, I'll tell you very, very easily, it's the Irish Setter. Irish Setter is very athletic, very tall, beautiful dog with a long auburn coat. And when it comes into the ring with its kind of race pace around the arena, it looks like the redhead that just walked into the cocktail party. I mean, it's very stunning. Yeah, it's really a beautiful sight. Now, would I want to own one? No, probably not. They require a great deal of activity and running and what have you, and that's not my lifestyle.
John O'Hurley's with us on the KQ Morning Show. 22 years, the host of the National Dog Show, Thanksgiving Day, 11 to 1 Central Time. So have there ever been any real controversies in your time? Was there ever a, behind the scenes, any sort of malfeasance or suggestions of the fix was in? Anything good and dramatic like that?
Oh, you want the dirt, don't you?
Always.
One year in the Best in Show, which is, of course, that final group of all those who have won the groups during the day, one of the dogs in that group was the Great Dane. And the Great Dane comes racing past me on its opening run and stops right at the NBC booth, crouches down, looks me straight in the eye, and gives me what I would refer to as a large editorial comment. right there on the rug. They had to stop the show and bring out the hazmat team with their elephant shovels.
Man, a Great Dane, no less. I had a buddy that had a Great Dane. I will tell you about. They eat like a 50-pound sack of food every day. Now, there's a lot. I was just looking through. I think there are 7 groups of dogs, and I was looking to see if one had an advantage with judges over the years. But it looks like there was the non-sporting group has been one at the last few years, but I'm curious about the owners. Are there owners of these dogs that are they varied, or do you tend to see the same owners that just know how to raise and train the right breeds?
Well, the handlers, I think, is what you're referring to.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Many of those are not the owners of the dogs. They're actually hired. They're like jockeys. You hire your jockey to race your horse, and in much the same respect in the dog show arena as well. And these people are, but you're right, they know exactly how to present the dog. They know the speed that the dog should be moving at, and how do you get that dog up to that speed and not faster, not slower, and also present the dog so the dog is moving the way the dog should, and also they call it stacking the dog when it's sitting on the table there, so that the judge can look at it, and of course, the stacking is something that the dog has to learn.
Wow. Any of the dogs ever not get along there at the show, perhaps back behind the scenes? They all seem so well behaved.
You'd be really surprised. I've never seen a dog fight there.
Okay.
And certainly nothing ever in the arena, the showing arena. Just that one Great Dane that kind of soiled the path there. But that would be, believe it or not, over 22 years. That's a pretty remarkable stat when you think of how we usually have 2,000 dogs in the arena.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on. I mean, basically everything I know about dog shows I learned from Best in Show. I'm assuming that was not the most accurate depiction, that film of what's going on behind the scenes.
It was a wonderful parody, but the structure of the show is probably pretty close.
Sure. John O'Hurley's with us on the KQ Morning Show. Been hosting the National Dog Show for 22 years now. John, we would, of course, be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that you first hit the radar in a huge way as Jay Peterman. You had a nice career going along, and then suddenly you stepped into the biggest show of the 90s, Seinfeld. Did it feel like you were stepping into the biggest show? Was it a bit like a rocket ride? Because I have to imagine you immediately were far more recognizable. That's one of the most iconic characters outside of the original 4 on that show.
Well, thank you for saying that. But it's funny. It took me a while to really understand the form of comedy on Seinfeld, because Seinfeld itself is not funny.
Right.
The show doesn't read funny. When you sit down at the table read, all the actors sit up. It doesn't really read funny. There are no jokes. What happens is if you play the scene as a drama, at just a tour de force, no holds barred drama, then it's funny. Yeah. And the greatest example of that was George Costanza. I mean, Jason Alexander is a tour de force character actor, but everything is played at the height of his experience. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Everything is played at he's always at his top. Exasperated.
Right.
If you just play the exasperation of every scene, then it's funny.
Well, I mean, your character, Jay Peterman, I mean, talk about a dramatic life. I mean, that guy, the trips to Burma and the family background, with every time you came back, there was just another layer peeled, and it just got better and better and better.
It did, and the writers picked up on it too, and it gave them a chance to write more in long form rather than short of the dialogue scenes. No, that was a lot of fun, and the monologues were fun. And on that platform called Cameo.com, where we do birthdays and retirements and all that stuff, I still do the Peterman monologues.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. John O'Hurley's with us on the KQ Morning Show. All right, the National Dog Show, Thanksgiving Day, 11 to 1 Central. You are a classically trained singer, correct?
I am, and I tour my one-man show that I wrote some years back, and
right.
It's called A Man with Standards.
Well, we don't have standards. We're a rock station, John. I said we don't have standards. We're a rock station. So I do want to ask you, I'm sorry to step on you, but as a kid growing up, were you into rock and roll? And if so, what was the first concert you went to see?
Absolutely. I was part of the worst rock and roll band ever assembled.
Really?
We were called the Whiskey Rebellion, which was belied the fact that we all had acne and none of us knew what we were doing. We had 16 songs that we could play at the drop of a hat. And unfortunately, I never added up the running time because I would have realized for a 3-hour dance, we had 45 minutes of music.
Say, hey, man, you know what? If you do it right, they won't know you're playing a song for the third time.
You just keep playing. Yeah, you just keep playing Purple Haze over and over again.
What was the first big concert you remember seeing as a kid?
It's a good question because it was 1966. It was the Strawberry Alarm Clock.
Wow!
And they had that wonderful oldie. Do you know the name of it? Do you remember the name of it?
Yeah, of course. Of course, now that you're saying that, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. It's, I can hear it in my head. Incense Peppermints.
Incense and Peppermints. I'm sorry we needed that in the form of a question.
That's right. My bad.
But it was, it was. Now, I cut to another funny story. I saw them at the Bushnell in Hartford, Connecticut. And that was the first concert that I went to, and I was probably 14, 15 years old. Now,
that's awesome.
Cut to when I came through Hartford with my Broadway musical, Chicago. I had the same dressing room that they had, so I could pinch myself and say they were in this room.
That's awesome right there. What a story. That's the first Strawberry Alarm Clock reference we've had ever on this show. I love it. Thank you, sir.
And they haven't brought that. No reunion tours.
Yeah, no. They left it well enough alone. Well, John.
By the way, my Whiskey Rebellion hasn't been asked for a reunion tour either.
Hey, man, you know what? Let's plant the seed here. Track the guys down. We got a lot of great venues in the Twin Cities for you to come play.
Let's get those 16 songs back up and running.
Heck yeah. John O'Hurley, thank you so much for taking the time. The National Dog Show, Thanksgiving Day, 11 to 1 Central. Thank you so much, sir.
Great to talk to you.
Awesome. That song, Incense, Peppermint, Strawberry Wine, banned in the Gorman household, at least the melody, because I sing stuff. I just put things to weird melodies all the time. And for years, I would... anything that was 5 syllables, I would say it and then go strawberry wine. So I would say something like instead of incense, peppermint, strawberry wine, I would say time for dinner now, strawberry wine.
Yeah, you do that all the time here. That makes sense.
M&M's.
Exactly. I would say anything like, who left the door open, strawberry wine? And there was a day, and this was going back a long time, but sometime in the late 90s, my wife looked at me and she said, I swear on everything holy, if you do that one more time, I'm leaving. Stop. I ban it. I forbid it. I can't have it in this house ever again.
I will kill you, Steve.
Yeah, exactly. And I said, okay, done. You got it. You got it. And I waited and I waited and I waited. And then we were driving somewhere and I just busted out a great one. And she looked at me and I said, you said I can't do it in the house. You said, because her words were, I cannot have that in this house anymore. I will leave. And she made a big thing. And she was like, okay, well, now I'm banning it for life everywhere. And I was like, sorry, no way. That's too much. But I do wait. I rarely bust it out. But there's always a moment when I know, this will really bug her right now. And that's when I go with it.
Mid-argument.
That's always it's literally in the middle of like a serious breakdown of something, and I'll just be like, the kids don't like you and strawberry wine. That's always a good thing.
If you can work that into this next interview, I'll be properly impressed. But you had something to add
count
before
on
that.
it. Thank you for the challenge. I do need to mention this, that all of our clothes are half off. Yeah, that's right. You can save 50%. 50% on all 92 KQRS merch starting Wednesday with the code HOLIDAYS. Click on the shop tab at 92KQRS.com and grab your favorite T-shirts, hats, hoodies, and more half off while supplies last. And guys, a couple weeks ago, we had a game and we had a caller call in, a guy named Tubby. Remember that? You remember the name Tubby. The next day, I encountered Tubby walking Chauncey in town.
What?
And he walked right right up. He goes, Steve. I said, yeah. And he goes, hey, I'm Tubby. And I was like, hey, what's up, dude? And I saw Tubby again just last week on the same walk, and he was wearing the awesome KQ T-shirt with all of our faces on it. And I was like, Tubby, my man.
Weird.
So here's what I would say. Be like Tubby. Go to 92kqrs.com, click on the shop tab, 50% off starting Wednesday. You got to put in the code HOLIDAYS. We do have great swag.
Be like Tubby, stalk Steve. And you're off time. I wonder, I bet I wasn't the only one that watched that Peter Jackson Get Back Beatles marathon a couple of Christmases ago. Or was that last Christmas? Now I can't even remember. When it came out, wondering who is the giant with the goofy haircut that's constantly within 1 foot of the Beatles, constantly. I did some Googling, found out he was Mal Evans. What a fascinating story. Can't wait to hear from this author. Kenneth Womack has written a book, Living the Beatles, Legend, The Untold Story of Mal Evans. Check that out at 8 o'clock with us, please. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Monday, November the 20th. Good morning. We are about to talk with a fascinating guest who's written an amazing book. But first, this has just been announced. The Guess Who and Transit Authority playing Saturday, March 30th at Treasure Island and Event Center. Tickets are on sale Friday. Guess Who and Transit Authority. The Beatles, a band from Liverpool you may be familiar with. For all of the time they were touring the world and recording as a group, there was a guy hanging out with them doing all sorts of odd jobs, everything that needed done. The band relied on a big fella named Mal Evans, a man about whom very little is actually known. And now a book has been written by Ken Womack, one of the greatest Beatles authors on the planet. The book is called, there he goes. Living the Beatles Legend, The Untold Story of Mal Evans. And Ken Womack is on the horn with us right now. Good morning, Ken.
Oh, good morning. Where did November go?
I'm not really sure. It was just here a second ago, and now we're already looking at the end of the year. Mal Evans, I'm a Beatles fanatic, and so I know who Mal Evans is. I know there's a few songs that he very famously appears in. He's counting in the song "A Day in the Life," for example, as the orchestra swelling. But this is a guy that had a front row seat to the most. It's to this day still the greatest, the most insane experience a rock and roll band has ever had. Mal Evans was like the one guy right there, and yet we don't seem to know much about him. Why is that? How did Mal Evans, who has been dead now for decades, but how did he remain so anonymous all these years?
Well, it wasn't supposed to be that way, actually. Nobody was necessarily hiding him. He just exited the story too early. In fact, with all this Beatlemania going on right now, I think he would be so thrilled if he were still around, right? But he exited the story too early. He was killed in an altercation with the L.A. police in January 1976. And not only did he disappear, but so did all of his papers. He kept thousands of pages of material, wrote 3 books, had 2,000 photos, diaries, and it all went missing for about a dozen years. And fortunately, we've got it back.
That in itself is an amazing story. I mean, this guy had, you said 2,000 photos. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Every now and again, a series of photos hits the internet of the Beatles, and it's weird. They're probably the most photographed band of all time, but it's still jarring when you see a picture you've never seen of the Fab Four. And Mal's got journal after journal and 2,000 photos. That's an amazing trove for Beatle fanatics. How long did you spend working on this book and going through what he left behind?
Oh, my gosh. Well, it all came to me about 3 years ago when his son Gary asked me if I would write up his dad's story. And so Gary had it. They'd kept it in their attic for 20 years or so.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, all this material, which, by the way, was scheduled to be thrown out in the 80s, late 80s. And an enterprising temporary worker who was in the New York Life building got in there and saved it, thank goodness. And it was Yoko Ono who led the charge to get it back to Mal's family. But I've been on this for 3 years, and conducted hundreds and hundreds of interviews with surviving witnesses, really to round out the picture of what Mal was like.
And what was he like? I mean, it's an amazing thing to be the guy that the Beatles trusted with literally everything. You got to be a pretty unique cat.
Yeah. You know what he was like? He's like all of us. He's complicated, right? You know, I thought he was going to be more monodimensional just because you see him in all the photographs behind the boys, and he's not. You know, he's a complex guy. He's very capable, and you know, which makes sense, right? Because if we know anything about the Beatles, they were damn smart. They were whip smart, as the Liverpudlians would say. And to hang with those guys, you've got to be pretty good yourself. Because they will eat you alive, especially in their heyday. So Mal knew how to hang with them. He became indispensable. They probably spent more time with Mal in those 7 Beatles years than they did with their wives. He was the guy. You know, he was the reason they could stay up all night recording another song, because he could make a meal for them downstairs at the Abbey Road Cafe, or he could, you know, he could be the guy who went out in the middle of the night and got a new instrument, woke up the people at the instrument stores. You know, Mal was, he was that guy. Everybody needs one. He's a fixer. You know, he's the kind of guy who solves problems.
And what was his, what was he doing before he crossed paths with the Beatles? I mean, there's not a school to go to learn how to be that guy.
That's right. He was, and there was no school, and there really wasn't a job, right, in 1963 that looked like this. Before they brought Mal, they had one guy, then they had 2. You know, today, how many guys do they have now on the tours? 600? You know, so anyway, Mal was a telecommunications engineer with the British Post Office. Really good job. Had a pension coming his way, the whole business, and he really wanted to take a chance on the Beatles when they asked him to go full time. His family went nuts when this happened because they said, "Well, I mean, think about it. Nobody is going to run off with a pop group, and you know, how long is that going to last? 2 years,
right?"
You know, I mean, the Beatles simply bucked every prediction that there ever has been, and they're still doing it. But, you know, in 1963, the idea of being in a pop band when you're 30, much less 40 or 50, is insane.
Hey, Ken.
Go ahead,
sorry.
Zep.
I was going to say, I know this is the untold story of Mal Evans, who came onto my radar during the Get Back Peter Jackson documentary. It doesn't take you very long to start. Hey, who's the big guy with the goofy haircut? Then I did a little background and a fascinating story, but I don't know much about him. Now, when his diaries were uncovered, were there shocking things about the Beatles that you just didn't know about when you started exploring this that we hadn't heard about?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the fact is we've heard about most things, right? But the Beatles story is one that people are going to make discoveries even after 3 learned guys like us are gone. It's really quite fascinating. You know, the amount of material there leads you to other material. So did anything bowl me over? Not really. But what it does is it straightens out the timeline a little bit. You get firsthand impressions while things are happening. You know, we famously, the Beatles were in Manila, you know, when they got on the wrong side of the Marcos regime. And Mal was hauled off the plane, thought he was going to be killed before they could leave the airport. And, you know, he's writing up his last will and testament, you know, which I think he does actually 3 times or so. So the whole thing is fascinating in the sense that it puts you inside that space like I don't think we've been before.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Ken Womack's with us on the KQ Morning Show. His book, Living the Beatles Legend, The Untold Story of Mal Evans, is available now. You mentioned that Mal had this trove of photographs and diaries and had written several books already. He had a whole collection of his experiences, and it went missing and then was discovered. Give me the really quick version of that whole story, because that in itself is like a Netflix series on how this stuff was almost destroyed and then saved.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm glad you picked up on that because it really is, to me, the most intriguing part. What happened was, you know, Mal essentially committed suicide by cop on January 4th, 1976. He had finished a new his first memoir that was going to be published for Grosset and Dunlap. He was going to turn it in a couple months after that. But the materials were literally there in the duplex in L.A. where this all went down. The publisher, because they'd invested in the book, wanted to keep things moving. And they kind of hounded Mal's family a little bit, wanting them to sign off on things. And, of course, they're in this kind of bizarre grief because Mal died, had a girlfriend in L.A. You can imagine the strands. The strands of dealing with anybody's death is complicated, but this is outrageous, right? So, the materials then would move around. They went to New York City, where the publisher is still trying to get the family to publish. And, of course, after a while, they're just saying things like, just send us our stuff, for God's sake.
Right.
When they figured out they couldn't get anything out of it, after a few last-ditch efforts in the late 70s, they must have sent the materials down to the basement of the New York Life building, which is, you've been to New York. It's a city block.
Yeah.
And, of course, I think 3 levels under the street. Anyway, when Grosset was purchased by another publisher in the late 80s, they went in to throw everything away. And that's when this temporary worker found the material, said, what the hell is this? Nobody would give her the time of day. They just said, throw it away. And she marched up to the Dakota, left a note for Yoko Ono. And Yoko got the lawyers together. And, within hours, they're over there saying, give us our stuff. What the hell?
Yeah.
And it's just a masterclass in lawyering, by the way. Just beautiful stuff.
Wow.
But, yeah. And that's how it was saved, really. It'd probably be thrown away or, worse yet, sent over here to New Jersey.
Ken Womack's with us on the KQ Morning Show, living the Beatles legend, the untold story of Mal Evans. The guy literally was, and you referenced it quickly. You said, a band goes on the road now. There's a tour manager, an assistant tour manager. There's a publicist. There's a crew of techs. There's the sounds, the lights. The Beatles toured the world with 2 dudes helping them. Mal would set up all of the instruments himself and break them down. Such a different time, and this guy was right there for every bit of it. And Ken, I want to ask you one last thing. You've written about the Beatles as much as, if not more than anybody, over the last few decades. What was it like for you watching Get Back? Like the rest of us, freaked out about it, but I imagine for you it was even probably more so to finally get a real 8-hour glimpse into what was really going on there.
It was wonderful. It didn't change the story as far as I was concerned. It's always been the greatest comeback. They were going through all sorts of turmoil, different states of turmoil for each band member. And at the end of the month, they come up with all those great songs and do the rooftop. You can't beat that. But the best part for me, especially as a professor here at Monmouth University, was to be able to watch Paul McCartney essentially create Get Back out of thin air. We've always wondered, how would you do something like that? You mentioned Today in the Life in the intro. How you make those kind of great songs under any sorts of conditions is interesting to me, and it showed us, right?
It certainly did. Ken Womack, thank you for taking the time. Living the Beatles legend, the untold story of Mal Evans, out now. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Malcolm Evans, I mentioned, he's the guy. If you hear the song A Day in the Life, as the orchestra is swirling up, going into the middle section, you hear a guy going 4, 5, 6. That's Malcolm Evans, and they weren't intending to have that on the tape. He was counting for the orchestra to be able to keep time. He's also the guy on Maxwell's Silver Hammer. He's the guy hammering that anvil with a hammer. He was just there, and it would be like, okay, Mal, do this. Making the tea or rewriting a lyric was just all in the day of this guy around the Beatles. And being a Beatles, jerk myself, I've long known who he is, but this is a book I am very excited to read. I will devour this thing.
Yeah, and the fascination here is a new character has been introduced to the rest of us, as pivotal to the Beatles, maybe not as pivotal. The Beatles are still the Beatles without Mal Evans, but you have a Brian Epstein, you have a George Martin in there, and now you have this other character that was with them every step of the way, and it's fascinating to have a new character. That's why I was wondering if there was any Beatles revelations, but there doesn't have to be, because we have, for many of us, a new Beatles character to explore in their epic poet that was poem, rather, that was their career.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Monday, November the 20th. You can catch us anytime you like, anywhere you get podcasts. Why don't you grab the KQ Morning Show podcast anytime you want, wherever you get your normal podcast. That podcast is, of course, sponsored by Devani's Pizza and Hot Hoagies.
Tasty.
Oh, yeah. There's always a pause. There's always a Devani's. But hey, check this out. We just announced this at 8 o'clock. The Guess Who are coming to Treasure Island Event Center on, what's that date? March the 30th. Along with Transit Authority. And, we're feeling so good about the fact that they're coming here that we're going to give away some tickets. You cannot buy tickets on sale. They don't go on sale, so you cannot purchase them until Friday, but you can win a couple of them right now. And we are going to, of course, play a game. Tony, what is today's game, sir?
That's so nice of us to do the giveaway. Let's play this.
The KQ Morning Show presents...
Yes.
TV or not TV?
Oh my God, is this real?
Yeah, you see any good movies over the weekend? We like offering this up on Mondays because there's so many choices in entertainment, so much to scroll. We're going to present to you a title and a brief description of the plot. Then you decide, is it an actual movie that has been seen or you can see on a streaming TV platform, or is it something that was made up? TV or not TV? That is the question, Dr. Gorman.
I like it. Anytime we can pretend to be smart guys and reference Shakespeare, I'm all for it. So let's do that. Let's play TV or not TV. Candace, who is contestant number one?
All right. We have Jesse from Minneapolis.
Jesse, good morning.
Good morning.
Are you ready to play TV or not TV, sir?
I hope so.
As do we. I mean, actually, we don't have a dog in the hunt, so if you are or not, we're going to enjoy it. So I wish you the best of luck, sir.
All right.
All right, Mr. Number One, a Seattle teenager stumbles into a time travel portal, meets his future wife and kids, then brings them back to the present, causing turmoil and confusion with his parents and the kids at school. Is it real or not?
That sounds like TV.
Oh, I'm sorry. That is made up. Never happened. Just in the mind. I
was going to go TV as well. See, that's another show we have to develop and pitch.
All right. Number two, Oxford Blues. A hotshot car parker leaves Vegas to study at England's Oxford University, where he chases girls and goes out for the crew team.
That sounds like TV.
That is correct.
Oh, yeah.
1984 with Rob Lowe and Ali Sheedy.
God, really? I'm 0 for 2.
You know what's funny? When you said Oxford Blues, I immediately pictured Rob Lowe, and then I was like, that's weird. Why am I thinking about him? So somewhere deep in the recesses of my mind, I don't think I saw it, but I do remember it.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those.
Brat Pack. Isn't that what they called him?
Yes, that is correct. Number three, Jailbake. Mobsters in the Witness Protection Program convince a bakery owner to launder money for their illegal activities, and it becomes a delicious success.
Why not TV?
I'm sorry?
TV.
I'm sorry, that also is made up. There's no jailbake, but
boy,
kind of sounds fun, doesn't it?
Tony, man, laying out the barbed wire today.
Little cannoli. All right, your last one. Number four is Harpy. A woman tries to break up the marriage of her ex-husband, an architect who trains eagles.
Not TV.
I'm sorry, that is real.
Oh!
1971 with Hugh O'Brien and Elizabeth Ashley.
Oh, Harpy.
Jesse, I have to apologize.
Yes.
I didn't know we were giving you the bar exam today. My God. We were all confused. Make no mistake, you are hardly alone on that 1 for 4. But you know what? That bodes well, because I imagine that our next contestant's also going to face the gauntlet. Hang tight, Jesse. We'll get back to you. Candace, who's contestant number 2? And if you say Brady Bunch, Tony, I'm going to smack you. Who we got, Candace?
Kenny from Lino Lakes.
Kenny, good morning.
Good morning.
How you feeling, brother? You ready to play a little TV or not TV?
Well, I think maybe I got a chance.
All right. Good luck to you, sir.
Fool.
All right, we'll try not to kill Kenny here. Number 1, Bert Ferret USMC. A crazy platoon of Marines adopt an adorable ferret as their mascot and train it to sabotage enemy bunkers.
I'm going to say true.
I am sorry, that is made up.
Wow.
No Bert Ferret
Not TV.
USMC.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Bert nonfiction.
Ferret.
That actually
Believe it or
happened.
not, I've been wrong before.
Wait, is Bert spelled B-E-R-T? I'm just curious.
That's, well, B-U-R-T is what I went with. Why?
Okay, I was curious. I was wondering. That's Bert Ferret. That's a great hotel name. I'm calling for you. Have a guest, Mr. Bert Ferret. That's awesome.
All right, sir. Number 2, Birdman, a faded Hollywood actor known for playing a superhero, tries to prove he's a true artist by mounting a Broadway production while juggling his relationships with his girlfriend, daughter, and ex-wife.
You don't make this easy for me. I'm going to say that's false.
I am sorry. That it was real. Michael Keaton, Ed Norton,
Yeah.
Zach Galifianakis, 2014. Much lauded production.
Well, I'm making the other guy happy right now.
You are. You're making us all happy, Kenny.
Yeah.
Don't cut yourself short.
This is a fine competition between the two. Number 3, By Air or By Sea. A timid man unhappy with his marriage and his job takes time off to travel the Greek islands and develops a fascination with things that float.
Damn.
I'm sorry?
True.
I am sorry. It is made up. It is
Kenny, buddy.
Wow.
Hey, maybe we're going to have a playoff here.
A fascination with things that float.
Yes.
See you at the ice
I
show,
like
Kenny. Wait,
Kenny,
it's just one, right? To
yeah,
tie, or
Kenny,
was that it?
you need this one, buddy. You got to go 1 for 4, brother. Good luck.
Go, Kenny,
I
go.
know.
Here's the last one. Scurvy. The entire state of Florida suffers an unprecedented drought, shutting down the orange industry.
Jeez. Can you repeat that?
Sure. Titled
With a straight
Scurvy.
face.
Titled Scurvy. The entire state of Florida suffers an unprecedented drought, shutting down the orange industry.
I'm going to say true.
I am sorry.
Oh,
You know, I have a feeling he was thinking no, but then decided to go against his, horrible instincts for this game. But, Kenny. Can he do it?
You know me.
No.
You know me too well, Brian.
I do know you can.
man.
Kenny.
We just wanted scurvy to be true. We wanted those Floridians to have bad dental hygiene. That's for sure. All right, Kenny. Listen, man. 0 for 4, but with charm and panache all along the way. What that means is Jesse's 1 for 4 is more than enough. Jesse, you have won tickets to see the Guess Who at Treasure Island on March 30th.
Ask
Kenny.
Jesse if he wants to trade.
Jesse, okay, all right, Kenny, we can ask, but the runner-up prize is a 4-pack of tickets to the St. Paul Ice Fishing and Winter Sports Show, Friday, December 1st through Sunday, December 3rd at the St. Paul River Center. I will leave that up to you guys. I mean, Jesse, if you're rather have the St. Paul Ice Fishing, I imagine we could broker a deal. But as it sits right now, you got Guess Who tickets. Kenny, you got St. Paul Ice Fishing and Winter Sports Show tickets. Gentlemen, thank you both. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah, Kenny, I'll buy you a beer at the show.
Oh, man.
Big hug. By the way, Harpy, 1971 architect's life plagued by his ex-wife's a master manipulator whose constant clawing is about to drive off his new love and clientele as a hobby enjoys training a rare Harpy eagle. Currently has a higher IMDb rating than Napoleon. Ridley Scott's new movie.
No idea.
What I tell you.
Man, that is
a
impressive.
7.3 out of 10. That's a pretty solid IMDb rating for Harpy.
That was a good competition. I personally like it when they don't guess it so easily.
Yeah, no, they can't be gimmies, right? They got to earn these tickets sometimes.
They certainly do. Quick note here. The crazy story out of Italy. There's a convicted killer named Dimitri Fracano, and he is doing a 30-year stint for the 2017 murder. He killed his girlfriend. Terrible guy, right?
Yeah.
He was a pretty big dude when he went away, checking in about 260 pounds, and now 6 years later, he's at 440 pounds.
Holy holy!
What are they serving in Italian prisons? I mean, seriously, it sure ain't American hospital food. His lawyers went to court to seek his immediate release from prison. They said, look, the guy is struggling with his obesity. The prison food is making it impossible for him to diet. Again, what is happening in remember the Woody Allen film Love and Death about the French Revolution? Sure.
Yeah.
There's the scene where he's captured and he goes, it was a French prison, so at least the food was good, and the spread is incredible. That's what I'm picturing. This makes this. I'm thinking of the great Italian meals I've had in my life, and I guess that's what's going on here. So, dude is at 440 pounds. His weight gain has put him at great risk for heart disease, and he's having trouble walking on his own. So his lawyers are like, Judge, come on, the guy's going to die. Yeah. The panel of judges heard the agreement and actually agreed.
Oh,
wow.
They have released a man who murdered another human being from prison to serve out the rest of his sentence at home. However, with the stipulation that if he drops the weight, he goes back to prison.
What?
Oh, that's kind of funny.
So here's the question. Here's the question. Do you stay at home and just continue to gorge yourself for the rest of your 30-year sentence? Or do you try to extend your life, get heart healthy, and drop the weight? But if you do so, you got to go back into the joint.
I mean, it seems obvious to me. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's never not a napkin around my throat. I mean, just tuck it in and just bring me more food. Keep me home.
I've heard of hunger strikes to get out of prison, that kind of thing, but this guy took it the other way. He just went so obese that they cut him loose. How are they going to get him out of there?
Oh, man, I tell you what.
Take the roof off?
I just can't imagine what is the percentage of people that go to prison and gain weight?
Maybe he consumed his cellmate.
The blob.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a little research on that one. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, just that's a hell of an angle, man. I mean, you always hear about the mob bosses. He acted like he was crazy. There's no acting. This guy literally is checking in at almost at 440 pounds.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Monday, November the 20th. Good morning. In just a few moments, we will be joined by Robert Smith. We will be talking about the Vikings-Broncos game from last night. A tough loss, a game that felt to me throughout the Vikings should have been able to put away. A handful of mistakes, including, of course, 3 turnovers, led to their downfall. A 5-game winning streak comes to an end. Kind of rough. We're going to get Robert Smith's thoughts on the game in just a moment. In the meantime, have you guys heard about the fact that there is a Six Flags theme park opening next year in Saudi Arabia? There's the Vision 2030 initiative where the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is promoting their economic, social, and cultural diversification, and this Six Flags park plays a part of that. They have a roller coaster. It's called Falcon's Flight. It's going to have a 650-foot high part of the track, 650 feet off the ground, and it will reach a speed of 155 miles per hour.
Oh, that'll change your expression.
One of the major drops simulates a plunge over the side of a cliff. So if you find yourself in Saudi Arabia next year, you might want to take a look at that. Joining us on the phone, the Vikings icon, the Vicon, Robert Smith. Robert, are you a roller coaster guy?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy them. I just caught the end of that one, though. How high will it be?
650 feet at its height, and it will reach 155 miles per hour.
Wow, that's incredible.
I would want to have a helmet on if I were riding that ride. That's insane.
I'd like a lot of other people to ride the ride first, and then I'd feel better. I guess or you could say, I don't know. You don't want the thing wearing down. Hard to say. I've jumped out of a plane a few times, so
okay.
Heights don't really scare me. But yeah, that's the kind of thing where you have to. have to feel pretty secure that the engineering was sound and that a few people have tested it out.
Yeah, I would not be one of the first, that's for sure. Did you do tandem jumps and then move on to your own, or were they all tandems? What's this skydiving thing?
They were all tandems.
Okay.
All tandems, yeah. 2 of them from 10,000 and then one from 15,000, actually near Titusville in Florida. That's the highest you can jump without oxygen.
Wow. All right, fair enough. Well, was that shortly after retirement, or was that more recently?
2 of them were right after retirement, and the last one was probably about 8 or 9 years after.
Okay, I'm just asking because I would imagine when you stop playing football, at some point your body is just like, we need some adrenaline, dude. We got to find some adrenaline. We need risk and we need reward. Let's go.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, there's definitely some of that happens.
I'm sure. Well, you know what? That's a story for another day. Let's get to the Vikings last night. I'm watching the game, and not the result we were hoping for, but still another memorable night in this Josh Jobs story. That touchdown pass to Josh Oliver, I mean, where he shakes off one tackler and then right before getting nailed by 2 more, just calmly throws the ball. Only a 3-yard pass, but still, how cool is this dude?
Yeah, I know. It's just so much fun to watch. Now, obviously there were some plays you want to have back in the game, and it's not like we know for sure he's going to be the guy of the future, right?
Right.
But still, this has just been an incredibly fun ride. And last night was disappointing, but to be 5-1 now in the last 6 games, and 2-1 after Kirk goes down, and all those games without Justin Jefferson, I mean, you got to feel pretty good, and a lot of division games left.
Yeah, I'm screaming at the TV, and then I have to remind myself, wait a minute, I'm screaming at Josh Dobbs. Perspective is kind of important. So, I mean, the fake punt, brilliant play. No one expected it. O'Connell gets away with that one. But then again, you mentioned some mistakes, plays you want back. The first drive, the direct snap to TJ, he pitches to Dobbs, who then gets wrecked and fumbles. Is that O'Connell being a little is he being a little too cute with that one, do you think?
I think so, especially for a quarterback that has had some trouble in the past protecting the ball. You don't run him on a sweep. I mean,
Boy, he got wrecked.
And the fact that he's your backup quarterback.
Yeah, we're
right?
We're a little thin in that position, right?
Yeah, you just don't want to put him in that position. Now he gets that first down, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, nobody would have expected that. What a brilliant call!"
Right.
But with some objective viewing, I just don't agree with that. It had nothing to do with the fumble. I would not have called a play like that to expose my quarterback. Certainly not with his history of having trouble holding onto the ball.
Yeah, it was tough. The game felt to me like the Vikings had several opportunities just to put it away. I mean, that opportunism is a huge part of success. Did it feel that way to you? I mean, did you have an expectation, especially in that third quarter? It was like just one more drive, guys, and this game's over.
Yeah, and kind of memories of the Saints, right? Like being up like that, and same situation. You're up pretty comfortably, and then the mistakes come back and get you again. We've talked about the turnovers this season and how they kill most teams, right? And I just remember like -3 in the turnover ratio. You're like something crazy. It's like 5% to win if you're -3 in a turnover ratio in a game. So you just can't do that and win, and you certainly can't do it when you're up in a game like that on the road against a team like Denver that has hung in there in recent weeks.
Yeah, it sure has. Sorry, Zep, go ahead.
No, not at all. I want to, I often switch to defense here, but I want to keep talking about Dobbs a little bit. He's so exciting.
I'm sorry. You said you wanted to talk about Dobbs?
Yeah, just Dobbs a bit more. I mean, because he's so electrifying to watch. You just don't know. Now, he's still learning, and of course, he makes some mistakes I mean, he's just one of those quarterbacks. You just don't know what's going to happen when the ball snaps because he's not going to give up on the play. We went from a Cousins era, a very skilled, elite quarterback that does the right things with the ball most of the time, and this guy is just refusing to give up on each and every play, which could cause some problems problems. Now you've played with a pocket passer like Culpepper. You've played with Cunningham, who could get out of the pocket and run. Does this catch up with him? Can he play this kind of ball and keep winning in the NFL?
Well, I mean, there are examples of guys that do it, right? Like Lamar Jackson has done it, Josh Allen's done it, but you look at Josh Allen and he has more turnovers than any quarterback in the league since 2018. So the real question is, are you going to win the game or lose the game in those key situations? Again, you talk about situational football. What are you doing on third down? What are you doing in the red zone? What are you doing in 2 minutes? At the end of a half or at the end of a game? Those are the things that define quarterbacks, not just cherry-pick plays here and there. Yes, he did something exciting, or yes, he did something dumb at this point. You have to do it consistently over time. Can he do it? He's certainly not built like a Josh Allen, but neither is Lamar Jackson. So, you have to learn to protect yourself. But more important, and I shouldn't say more importantly than protecting yourself, because that's the most important thing, but you got to protect the football. Just can't turn it over, especially when you take off and run.
Robert Smith is with us on the KQ Morning Show. The other sub theme, or not a sub theme, the other major theme of the season has been this defense. Brian Flores gave up the last touchdown late yesterday, but that was just a hell of a throw and a hell of a catch from Denver. I don't know what you're supposed to do about that. But throughout the game yesterday, any thoughts? Anything did you see that developing in a positive way? Where the defense is, does this still look like a defense that's got somewhere to go and is going to get there, or do you think they've peaked?
Oh, no, I think, I don't know that I could say that they still have somewhere to get because, just like a quarterback, the defense, it's made up of individuals making plays at key times, and that was Mekhi Blackmon on that coverage. And, he just got beat on that ball, and that's a technique thing. Mm-hmm. He seemed to jump late, and he seemed to jump back. And he could have gotten knocked back a little bit, but he tries to knock the receiver's arms and just isn't in position really to try and separate or push up through the arms. And I know he was shorter, but, people talk about that all the time. Shorter defensive backs, they still can affect the arms of receivers. But that was just a hell of a catch, man. I mean, yeah. He squeezed that thing perfectly and turned so that Blackmon couldn't get his hands up, but Blackmon also just wasn't great position and kind of fell off balance as he was trying to make a play on it.
Hey, Robert, I got to ask you about Russell Wilson. This is a guy who played one type of football for years in Seattle. Last year appeared to have forgotten how to play football, and this year he's kind of back. I mean, what do you think was the story with him last year? Was it just too much of all new stuff, or how do you account for him having such a terrible year and then now suddenly looking like he knows what he's doing again?
Well, for one thing, he's dropped a lot of weight. So he's much more comfortable moving. But, quarterbacks are comfortable when they feel good with the play design and their grasp of it. So, they say like the eyes are windows into the soul, like the feet are the window into a quarterback's soul or mind, I guess, because when their feet are erratic, they're moving around, like they're uncertain about where they need to go with the ball. They're looking for solutions. And, you can see that a lot last year. Part of it, I think, was schematic, but, a quarterback has a lot of input on things like that. To what degree, I don't really know. But I think you combine the system of Sean Payton, maybe Sean Payton coaching up those receivers a little bit better because, even, with Sutton and Judy, both of those guys, they really have needed some development and they've needed improvement in their ability to separate. So, you can have anything called that you want, but if those guys aren't running it the right way, if it's man and they can't get away, then you're going to have fewer options. So Russell he's looked more comfortable for all of those reasons.
Robert Smith with us on the KQ Morning Show. Bears coming into town for next Monday night. Not quite the grease fire yesterday. They gave the Detroit Lions all they wanted. Was that a one-off, or do you think the Bears are actually starting to put some pieces together?
I didn't look at the entire film. I just kind of saw some of the highlights of it, but Justin Fields seemed to play a pretty good game, and maybe the time off and kind of seeing Bajent run the offense and learning it through his eyes, through a young quarterback's eyes, kind of hearing things a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that settled him down a little bit. But we're going to have to see. I mean, again, I think the Vikings. I think the Vikings are a better team. But if you're a better team and you make mistakes at crucial times, you can lose games. It's the way the National Football League works.
Hey, go ahead, Zep.
Just one more quick one in here. If Justin Jefferson returns, it's still a week-by-week kind of thing. He said he'll decide when he needs to come back. But say he does return for the home game with the Bears this weekend. How effective after being out, 6 games with a hamstring? I mean, how big of a deal can he be for Dobbs and the offense upon immediately returning from taking all that time off in the season?
Well, in listening to the broadcast last night, it sounded like the reason he didn't want to come back because he knew that his conditioning wasn't there yet. Yeah. But you would still have to think that teams aren't going to say, well, he's probably not full strength. Right. We don't have to rotate our defense. I think he's still going to draw the attention. But yeah, it remains to be seen. I'm not part of his rehab, so I don't know specifically what he's going through. But based on everything we know about Justin Jefferson, I'm sure he's taking it seriously and doing what he can. But there's just a difference between game shape and being in shape. We hear it all the time, and it's definitely true. When you get into the game, you have that adrenaline flowing, and you're running the plays. It's just different. So we'll see how effective he is when he gets back.
Robert Smith.
I was just going to say, also great job in Happy Valley. Caught that game over the weekend against Rutgers. Fantastic. You know your stuff, man.
Well, it was an interesting game. We'll leave it at that.
Hey, real quick, did you have a Thanksgiving games with the Vikings? Did you play ever on Thanksgiving?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we had some of the beatdowns of the Cowboys on Thanksgiving.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, fair enough. Those are pretty exciting, I guess.
Two out of my last 3 years, we beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving.
Strong. Hey, listen, so Thanksgiving's Thursday, then Friday. Saturday, any chance you're going to watch any college football?
I doubt it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was pretty sure that.
What's it going to be? We have to have some sort of on-air. I wouldn't call it a wager. Friendly agreement.
We can have a gentleman's agreement that I get 10 points because I don't have a head coach.
10 points?
Oh, sorry. Did I overstate it? I think Ohio's. Well, it's in Ann Arbor, so maybe. I tell you what.
No. I just saw it. It said the first time in 5 years that Michigan's been favored over Ohio State.
Wow.
Well,
fair
boys,
enough.
I think I'm going to go to the Gopher game on Saturday, so I'll have a full report.
Oh, okay, great. and they're playing.
Who are the Gophers playing?
Wisconsin.
Oh my gosh!
That's right, Paul. I mean, this is for the axe, right?
Yeah,
it's for Paul Bunyan's axe.
Yep, we're gonna do it.
That's like the coolest trophy in all of college football, hands down. Have you seen this thing, Steve?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not in person, of course, but I know of what we speak.
There's no scene like the guys running around with this gigantic axe, swinging it around after that game.
It is pretty awesome. There's no doubt about it. All right, so what are we doing? Michigan, Ohio State, my team, your team. It's funny, I say my team like it matters. You actually are a Buckeye. So what are we going to do here? Are we going to sing fight songs? Are we gonna get tattoos? What happens? What's the loser got to do?
Tattoos. Wow, that's extreme.
Well, I'm talking about the peel-offs, the like the little, we'll do the fake tattoo. I'll do it on my forehead. I bleed OSU or something.
Oh, that's funny. That one we'll have to discuss that. We'll have to come up with something interesting. Maybe have the listeners chime in on that one. See if they can come up with some ideas.
That's a good call.
Nothing permanent, though.
Yeah. Okay. Nothing permanent. We'll see what happens. Robert, it's always our pleasure, brother. I think I look forward to talking to you next week.
All right. Sounds good.
Cheers.
All right, man.
See ya.
All right.
Man.
Who are the Gophers playing? Jeez, I thought you guys were professionals here. I got to hold the show.
Yeah, you called us out, Candace. I apologize. I was so silly that I was thinking about the first and third ranked teams in the country playing up in Ann Arbor.
This is a Gopher town, okay?
I hear you loud and clear, kid. I'll never make the mistake again.
No one's bragging about Gopher football this year.
It's just for fun, Zep. Just lighten up.
It's for fun. Division I, Big Ten football. I've never heard.
It's fun to dress up and drink beer and chant.
Yes.
And
How are you going to dress up?
Oh, I got a lot of cute Gopher gear. I got a hat with some Gopher ears.
Mm-hmm. Wow! Please take plenty of photos.
Ears. Wow!
It's gonna be awesome.
It is gonna be awesome. Thanks for the reality check, Candace.
Yeah.
Very, very happy now as I'm closing in on my first year in the Twin Cities. I love being a part of all that is happening in the Twin Cities, except for, of course, all the cheating. Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't I mention this? Ashley Madison, the notorious app for hooking up. They're the people that had the slogan, "Life is short, have an affair." They keep track of all their data. And they recently released their top cities with the most cheaters.
Seriously.
Yeah. Good news for St. Paul is you came in at number 8, but it's the heathen Minneapolis that came in at number 7.
Right here, wow, 2 in the top 10 in the country.
Yeah. Hey, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Seriously, what are we doing here? I mean, I know it's a long winter, but come on.
Oh man, I would have thought that. Once I gave up my philandering ways, would have brought the curve down a little bit. I've cheated in both Minneapolis and St. Paul. However, wow,
equal
that's
opportunity adulterer, Brian's up.
Is it just the cold winters? I don't know what's going on there.
Well, no, it's not. Because I'll give you the top 10. Pittsburgh, cold. Okay. Buffalo, cold.
Yeah.
St. Paul, Minneapolis, cold. Cincinnati, kind of mild. Oh, but then it's all about the heat, baby. Tampa, Vegas, Atlanta, Orlando, Miami. The top 5 cheatingest cities in the country, according to Ashley Madison.
Bunch of pumpkin eaters.
Man, I tell you what, Florida with 3 of the top 5. That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, do they feel comfortable doing that? Ashley Madison, doesn't that? I know they had a big breach or security leak or whatever. Someone got a hold of all of their members and phone numbers and threatened to release them if they didn't pony up. And
they did. There was a lot of names released, and a lot of people had to answer a lot of questions.
I mean, is that a big deal anymore? Cheating on your spouse?
It's much more accepted now.
I feel like it is,
We're so indecisive here as Minnesotans. That's why.
Is that what it is?
I am very indecisive. I'm not a cheater, but I can understand how hard it can be.
Well, see, there's
monogamous, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'll give this a try here.
Well, you want to be polite. You don't want to say no to anyone, right? Well, I guess if you want to sleep, I suppose we can.
If you're not learning, you're not living. And I thought I needed to experience to say I had first experience. I wanted to learn the difference between guilt and shame. And these are 2 different things. I'm telling you here.
And furthermore, I might argue on behalf of Minnesotans and cheaters worldwide that, and I know they say once it's in your heart, it's the same thing as acting upon it. But they don't give us any stats as if they're hooking up, just that they're registered members. We have a lot of registered.
I guess so.
A lot of curiosity or paranoia. Maybe we're all in Minnesota getting on Ashley Madison. When I say we, I mean, of course, you people, not me. But no, maybe we're getting on Ashley Madison to check up, see who else is on there. Maybe just being a nosy neighbor. I don't know.
Could very well be. Could very well be.
I don't know. They were just a bunch of randy Midwesterners.
Well, listen, I mean, like we said, I don't know what the hell's going on in Florida and Atlanta and Vegas, but the cold winters, they do speak for themselves.
Yeah, they do.
Sometimes what they say is, who's looking for some of this? All right, I'll tell you what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a little history lesson, shall we?
Sports, music, history. Remember where the past comes alive.
It is November 20th. On this day in 1997, A.C. Green of the Dallas Mavericks, a man who has never been near the Ashley Madison app, played his 907th straight game. That was a new record. He's the NBA's Cal Ripken, if you will, the Iron Man. His streak lasted 1,192 games. A.C. Green, probably more famously known as the 40-year-old virgin upon his retirement. The man, literally a man of great faith, and he believed that that sex was just for marriage with one person. And it wasn't until he married in 2002 that he squandered that virginity he had protected all those years. Playing for the Lakers and Mavericks, countless times teammates tried to set him up with women. They would send women to his hotel room. He was propositioned regularly at the behest of his teammates. He never cracked. He never gave in. In fact, he always had time to sit with these women and go through scripture with them, which that's a buzzkill. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're showing up. You're thinking an NBA player, but no, you're going to get a little lecture.
Nothing but respect for a man who walks what he talks. So, A.C. Green, there's a tip of the hat to you, sir, you weirdo.
The KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.